Time to Unpack talk show. I am your host, Tiffany Singleton. The month is October, and as we are aware, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, there are 20 people that are abused physically by their intimate partner every minute. The topic for our show today will focus on domestic violence, and we have two survivors here to have that discussion with us. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Welcome. And so we have Miss Tina Torres and we have Miss Yakisha Means. And I will let you ladies introduce yourself, tell them what work you're involved with in the community and what it is that you want to share about yourself.
Okay. My name is Tina Torres, and I am the founder and CEO of She Did That Community Advocate Foundation.
Okay.
I'm also Ms. South Carolina Plus America 2021 and Ms. Plus Intercontinental Puerto Rico.
Awesome.
I am a survivor of domestic violence, and it goes as far back as I can remember, around the age of 4.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Yakisha Means. I'm the owner of A Better You LLC. Also, I'm a licensed counselor and certified personal trainer. I started off as a child witness of domestic violence in my parents' home. And then I moved to become a victim. I was a teenager and I got with someone much older than myself who abused me. And then at the age of 16, I ended up shooting him and he ended up dying. So I was incarcerated for almost 2 years before I went into an independent living program.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump right into the discussion. So, domestic violence is generally a result of power and control in relationships. And so, I think a good place for us to start is tell us a little bit about your experience and what that relationship looked like in the beginning, where it probably started off just great and in a place that you desired it to be. And how did that transition into the battering?
So, ever since I can remember, it was around me. I seen my mom go through it. They would send us over to a aunt's house, and there would be domestic violence going on over there. It was a constant, surrounded me completely. So I assumed that that was the type of relationships that as I got older, I was supposed to have. So I yearned for that type of relationship because that's all that I knew. And so as I grew up and got into relationships, it had to be in relationships with those that I knew that would either hit me or yell at me or, make me do things that, only that person could make me do. So, of course, it would be great at first. However, I was still looking for that mind control thing that I was used to seeing growing up. So it was kind of an addictive type situation. So I got into a relationship, a specific one that I was in for about 4 years, and it started off great. It was more of, I love you. We're going to be good. Everything's going to be great. And I didn't know that the signs of, what time are you going to be here? Why are you late? It should have only taken you this amount of time to get there or to get here. You're spending too much time with your family. You're not getting things done the way I need them to be done. I did not know that those were ways to start to control because I would see it, but then I didn't think that that was part of the abuse. I just assumed that that's just how relationships operated. I didn't have anything positive in my life growing up. So naturally, I just took on that. So to have my teeth knocked out, which are missing in the back, to getting my ears punched in to the point where my hearing will still go out sometimes on the right side. I still flinch when people get close to me at times. I have to be the one to reach out to you. I can't, people reach out to me, I get a little intimidated. But to go back to that specific relationship broke me to the core because I literally had to rely on this individual to do anything. Whether it was money, clothing, food, it didn't matter that we had kids together. It was just how it was. And so I just assumed that I would have to endure that for the rest of my life. It wasn't until I kind of stayed out a little bit later than I was supposed to at a grocery store, saw a sign that said that, hey, if you are being yelled at or hit on, or I think the other one was not able to go and come as you please,
Wow.
call us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that that was something that I was experiencing. So I called. And it wasn't until then that I learned that what I was involved in was not supposed to be real.
Right.
Like, you are literally dying in this situation. And I had no idea that at any moment I could be dead from that. So I started finding more ways to be able to be out so that I could get the information that I needed,
Mm-hmm.
and began to go through their programs. I would say I was on a job. They actually gave me money to show so that it seemed like I was at a job. So I was
Mm.
bringing some money in, and the whole time they were helping me with an escape plan. So if it wasn't for them, I'd probably still be in the same situation. And I learned that domestic violence, as well as intimate partner violence, was not something that I should have been enduring at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get out. I had 3 daughters.
Wow.
And after that particular one, and it wasn't until in my 30s,
Mm.
and I'm in my 40s now.
Wow. And you made an interesting point that a lot of things are learned. And so you learned in your mind that that equated to love.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that's an interesting point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because your first defense team should be your parents,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking that what they're showing you is right.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're doing it, and then your aunts are doing it and your uncles are doing it, so
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And so I grew up, like I said, my whole mind was just messed up because
Yeah.
I yearned for it.
Yeah.
I needed to be hit. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like, yeah, I'm supposed to. This is
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And so it wasn't until, like I said, I saw that sign. So without that sign, I'm not sure where I would be at this moment, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Okay. And Yakisha, what was it like for you? Was the beginning like just total happiness and then it transitioned into a different situation?
Well, I was like 14 and a half, about to turn 15, and my abuser was in his 20s. And so by this time, my father, whom I worship, even though he abused my mother for years, he got caught up with drugs, and he got sent to prison. So I'm missing my father figure. I was a daddy's girl. So it's like, even though he treated me well, it was confusing to me to see him smack, punch, hold a gun to my mom's head, and all these other things. And it's like, okay, so he treats me like this, but he treats mama like this. And of course, this term, domestic violence, inter-partner violence, as a kid, I'd never heard of this,
Right.
so all I see is daddy fighting mommy. Okay, that's what it was to me. And so when when he got incarcerated, it's like a piece of me was missing. And so I, gravitated toward this older guy who was handsome like my dad, had this aura that was powerful like my dad, and so, I started worshiping him. And then it started off with little insults, you're so stupid, you're dumb, you should be lucky that I'm with you type thing. And, I'm a young girl. I had low self-esteem. I'm missing my father, so it was like, I don't want to lose him type
Yeah.
thing. And so, it progressed into slaps, and then I got a chunk of my hair pulled out. I got held upside down. I got kicked, had bruises on my side. So, at first I felt like, oh my goodness, he chose me, an older, good looking guy, popular, he chose me. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm lucky to be smacked and kicked and cursed out and slapped. Okay. No, I was not lucky. And so, he also sexually assaulted me at the age of 16. And one night he got very, mad at me because I was hanging out without him. And I was dressed, in this tight purple dress. He didn't like that. And so he came to my house. My mother was working third shift. and he was like, just putting me down like I was like a piece of trash. And he was like, I'm breaking up with you. It was all a joke anyway. I made a bet that I could get your virginity, and I just lost it. And I grabbed my dad's 38 and I shot him, and he ended up dying. And then when I got out of Department of Juvenile Justice, my dad had also gotten out and married his mistress that he had kids with while married to my mom. And so we had been writing to each other, and we was going to take on the world together. So we were excited. And then my mom, she came to visit me. And the day before, my dad called me. He said, "Lady, I'm thinking about capping your mom." And I said, "Daddy, don't talk like that. I'm 19 right now." And I said, "Daddy, don't talk like that." I had no education in the mental health field. Didn't know what depression was about because he was depressed. And he said, "Lady, everything is going to be all right." So my mother came down. We went out, to eat to church. Went out to Quincy's to eat, had a good time. And I told her what my dad had said. And she said, "I'm not running no more. If it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go." And we hugged and we kissed, and she went back to Union, where we're from. And I got off from my shift at Babcock Center like midnight. And all day long, you ever have that feeling that something is
It's
off,
just
like
not
something,
right. Yes,
right?
right. Yeah.
So my whole shift, 4 to 12 a.m., people was like, "Are you okay, Yakisha?" And I'm like, I'm not physically sick, but I don't know, something is off.
Yeah.
And so I got to my godmother's house, and my phone rang, and I clicked over. I was talking to a friend, and I clicked over, and it was my Aunt Tutu, one of my dad's sister. She lived in Salute. I don't never talk to her. So I'm like, I immediately pictured my mom in ICU at Wallace Thompson Hospital in our hometown. I'm like, my dad beat up my mom real bad. But she said, "Sean, you need to get home. Your daddy then killed your mom and killed himself." And so, after I went through, my older sister and I, we buried our parents, went through depression, being suicidal. I went ahead and went to college, and volunteered with Sister Care, and I've been volunteering with Sister Care ever since.
Wow. Oh, that's all right. Okay. Um, so in hearing your stories, so there is the cycle of violence that many might be unaware of. So first it starts off with the tension building, just like both of you just talked about. Then it leads to the actual act, right? But then comes this honeymoon phase. Do you recall being stuck in that cycle where the batterer constantly tried to make it feel like everything was okay and I didn't mean to do it after each incident?
In my situation, he blamed it on me. "Well, if you hadn't said this, or
Right.
if you hadn't worn that."
Yeah, mine was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know what came over me. You know, it's my fault." There would be moments it's my fault, but then he would say it was his fault. And it wasn't. And let me say this: every relationship that I had up until I realized that this wasn't was what it was supposed to be was abusive. So for me, I just always assumed it's my fault. It's always going to be my fault because that's the burden that I'm supposed to intake. And so, I was used to it. And it got to a point where I was just numb to the situation because I'm just used to it.
And that's good to point out because we hear all the time people say, "Oh, well, why didn't they just leave? I don't understand. Why would somebody just stay there?" So to understand the mental damage that has already taken place, the emotional abuse that has taken place, and how a victim is stripped of almost everything, almost strategically, so that you cannot leave at a certain point.
So I remember a time when I was a child, and I just witnessed my stepfather take the car door and slam my mother's arm in the door. And she waited until, she went through the crying, the police came, but I don't know how he always got out of it. But in the middle of the night, which is why I still eat Jolly Ranchers today, she would always have a bowl of Jolly Ranchers in the cabinet. And in order, she would wake us up in the middle of the night every time she would escape. And the only way we would be quiet is if she gave us a Jolly Rancher. Because you imagine we're a kid.
Yeah.
And we try to figure out why we're being
yeah.
woken up in the middle of the night. You know what I'm saying? So naturally we're ready to get loud, unintentionally though.
Yeah.
Like, Mom. So she would immediately give us a Jolly Rancher to hush us up. So that way, as she snuck out the door, we were asking questions because our mouth was filled with candy. You know what I'm saying? So, you think of moments like that, and it's like you keep it going because that's what she did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I did the same thing, and I still keep Jolly Ranchers around me to this day. And I don't. It's like
It's okay. Just take your time. It's okay.
it's like that's a comfort mechanism for me because it still hurts. It still bothers me. You know what I'm saying? When people say, "Oh, how could that? That could never be me." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are people who have said it could never be me, and it ends up being them.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They may not realize that they're in that situation right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They may not realize when they're being asked, "Why did it take you so long to do this?" Or you're spending too much time with your family, or you're doing, they don't realize that right now they're being molded into being secluded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
But yet they have so much to say about our situation. You know?
Yeah. And it's strategic, just like he's saying, where you may get stripped from your family, from your friends, you become isolated. Then there's the control of maybe the person not having access to funds or finances. So it's a lot that takes place during that whole process. And I think it's just important that everyone understands what that actually looks like.
We want people to understand, but they choose
not to understand.
Everyone has the ability to understand. They just choose not to because they want to, and they may not realize it.
Right.
But they're coming off very condescending and rude and disrespectful.
Right.
And then that would be the one person that I wouldn't go to if I was in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they would constantly be so hardcore about the situation that they wouldn't see how their attitude is also adding more damage to the situation.
Right. So let's talk about some reasons for staying. So in addition to that, there could be fear. There's shame.
There's fear, there's pride, there's shame, finances.
Yeah.
Where am I going to go? You have children with the same person and you're trying to figure out, like, you don't want to hurt them by taking them away, but then it's like you're going to die in a situation, they're going to end up being caught in the same situation.
Low self-esteem, might still have feelings for the abuser. And how about the person that might, in their mind, say, okay, well, it's going to get back to the good times eventually. So still having that layer of hope, false hope.
Which causes us to go back continuously.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And the church as well. We have to add that because sometimes, the churches, people go to the church, for guidance, and you're being told, just continue to pray for him or pray for her, whomever the abuser is. God is going to make a way. So
there are some churches like that, not realizing that you're putting them back in a bad situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was the church that helped me. I don't know, they weren't like that. They helped with the organization do the escape plan. So I think, some churches are in it to help, but some, they're just like, oh, just pray.
Yeah.
It'll get better.
Yeah.
I just think that that's the wrong route to go.
And also, I saw an interesting quote that said that the person who abuses you also heals you. And so that was in relation to the whole cycle. So also to a victim, it can feel like, because after the battering, they're making you feel like all is going to be well.
Yeah, that's a narcissist move.
Right.
My mom, my dad, he would buy her jewelry. There was this dress shop that he would say, hey, go down there, pick out whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that honeymoon
It's that
phase.
honey.
It's the honeymoon
Yeah,
phase.
it was coming and going. You know, when they realized that they could possibly lose the individual, then the shopping and the I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me, I'll do better, or honey, I just need you to do better. You know, as if I'm the one that's at fault, and that's not necessarily the case.
So I know, Tina, you said you were able to escape. What did you have to try more than once, or were you strategic
Yeah,
in the
I did
beginning?
it.
Yeah.
I think it took about two times,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
two or three times. But the more and more I looked at those three girls of mine, that was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And they were getting to a point where they were feeling it, and I couldn't risk that. I couldn't risk them having to endure those hits, those that yelling, the having to wear makeup to cover up something. So I think it was two or three times, but that last time I was just like, either you gonna die, I'm gonna die, and you know what? I think it's gonna be you, so I need to go, because sometimes it's hard to prove that it's me, that's not me when it comes to court sometimes, and so I didn't want to spend my life in jail, so that's did not raise my girls.
And so strategically, you really have to have a safety plan, because it's also statistics that show that most people, when they try to escape and they get caught by the batterer, that they end up losing their
They
lives.
do. It gets worse. The hits become more worse. The bruises don't fade. I have some that are, you would think bruises aren't permanent, but I have a couple of marks that are permanent. They have not gone away at all.
Wow.
And so every time this goes out, the hearing goes out, I'm reminded of it. And every time I get to sit with beautiful people like Yakisha and a few others, those we have stories, but it's you go back and each time you go back, it gets worse. So you have to really, really just remind yourself that you are just as beautiful, as important as anybody else, and you've got to get out. But
A
finances
huge part.
is a huge part, and where are you going to go is another part.
Yes.
And so those two factors right there, and then trying to juggle being a single parent, coming out of a domestic violence situation, that right there is heavy,
Yeah.
because now it's like, I don't have any money, I don't have a place to stay, and I got three kids. Where am I going to go? So it's easier to stay,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And it being not easily detectable by the batterer, so
Yeah.
that you can move in secret.
Because they have such a hold on your time and where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
So that's why at first it didn't work, because it was, why are you gone so long? Like, where are you going? What are you doing? And that's when we realized that if I can say I'm working, I have to bring some money in to show.
Yes.
So they created fake pay stubs.
Wow.
So that it looked as if I was getting paid to be out. And so that's how I was able to finally get it together.
That's
But I had to
good.
get it together for me,
Yeah.
so that I was okay with leaving.
And so leaving, of course, is the most dangerous time, as you indicated earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very strategic.
Very strategic.
If you have somebody that you can trust to give your social security card to, your driver's license, things that, you're going to need, to hold on for you, then you just give them a little bit and a little bit and a little bit at a time. So that's one part of it. Having a code name, as
Yeah.
well, to let them know. Kids need to have that code. Neighbors, a trusted neighbor need to have the code. Somebody in the family need to have the code name as well. In my case, I wasn't trying to leave because I felt like, I needed him.
Right.
My mother left a couple times, even got her own apartment one time. I went off to a sleepover, and something told me, once again, my gut feeling told me not to go. But my mom was like, go, have some fun. And I went. late. And everybody was leaving the next day, and I was the last one. I kept calling, and it was blah, blah. It was busy. My mom ended up coming to pick me up late, and she was very nervous, and she said, "We got to go back home. Your dad came over to the apartment last night with a shotgun, and he said if I didn't come back home, he was going to kill me." That's that fear. You either die or go back to the abusive relationship. Which one are you going to choose?
And nine
Which one you gonna
times it's
choose?
easier just to go back.
Yeah.
It's easier to go back, and because they will find you.
Mm-hmm.
They will find you. The having to look over your back all the time is nerve wracking. It's disturbing actually, and it doesn't. You can't focus. You can't stay on a straight, narrow path to keep pushing forward because you're constantly looking behind your shoulder. Like, is it going to come? Like, is he going to know that I'm here at this point, or whatever? And you know, when I was sexually assaulted by a male and a female, back then, that all of that together is just nerve wracking to the point where it was just easier to take my life, so I didn't have to deal with it. But I had 3 little girls, so I needed to figure out how to do something better for them.
What was the healing process like for you after you escaped and were quote unquote free?
I don't think I fully healed. I don't. If I could still cry about it, I don't think I fully healed yet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, my kid's father and I, we have gotten to a point where he apologized.
Okay.
And I think I needed that apology because I always felt like it was just me. I always felt like it was just me. Like I could never do nothing right, even after leaving. I always felt like I'm not going to be the best mom for my kids because I don't have him. I don't have all the other past relationships that helped me push forward in moving forward, basically, because I needed that high that I always had witnessed since I was a kid. So the healing process is still happening, but I think I'm much stronger now, and I fight back. Like I'm quick to fight back,
Okay.
but I'm also quick to be a frontliner for any and everybody that's going through this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't know till talking to you just now that it was still affecting me. So it takes a while
It takes a while.
because I was living in a shelter.
Yeah.
Like we moved into a shelter for sister care. So we lived there for 30 days, and then I think for like 20 days. And then they put us at Henley Homes for like 30 days. And then I got my apartment through, they helped me get an apartment through Gonzalez Gardens. And I was there for 3 years. And then I got my house through Habitat for Humanity. So even though I was making strides
Yeah.
to move forward, I was still trying to find out, who am I?
Who are you? Yeah.
Like, what is my purpose? Why am I still here?
Mm-hmm.
Because I tried to commit suicide many times. I was trying to figure out why am I like, what is it? Why am I here? You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you ever fully heal. I don't think you ever fully heal from it. I think you become more cautious of what you do, how you move, and you're more protective over your space. And I'm real protective over my space. And I'm a fighter. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think you still hold a piece of it so that you can be protective of yourself. But I think that eventually you do learn what peace is, and you push forward. I fight for people every day now.
Yes.
That's good.
So the healing process is really how you want it to heal, I believe.
I'm still healing as well. And statistics have proven that people who, grow up in domestic violence, they have long-term, effects by it. It shows up for me in relationships.
Wow.
I have found that I have taken on the controlling aspects and can be aggressive. So I have to continuously be aware of that and check myself and how I come across. And so I was in a relationship with someone that was, pretty good to me. and I lost him because of that. So that's how it shows up for me. So I'm still a work in progress into trying to eliminate that out of me, because when you witness violence, there is a high percentage of you becoming violent yourself. So I'm continuing to work on that. Still single.
Wow. Look.
And you don't want to be that way.
Right.
You don't want to be that way. But when you've grew up in it, and you've been involved in it personally yourself, not just from being the kid, but being the individual in it, you become, you think you're being protective, but you're almost being controlling and not realizing it. And it's not purposely. It's just you don't want to be in that same situation again.
Yeah.
I want to be the woman that is spoiled rotten by him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I'm also that person that's like, let me make sure let me put my guard up so that way I don't never have to worry about somebody hurting me again. So yeah.
Do you ever feel like you'll be able to fully trust again?
I do not know. I want to.
Yeah.
I really, really want to.
Yeah.
And I get among all my sisters. And, I'm actually around a great group of guys who have shown me. I never knew what a man was supposed to be like.
Wow.
How he was supposed to treat you.
Yeah.
Because all I ever saw was violence. So, but I work with a lot of men now who show me what that's like. They're married, or in their relationships, and, they show me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what that was like. So I also be looking for that too, paying attention to stuff like that.
So, ladies, thank you. You have such powerful testimonies, and I do thank you for your willingness to be transparent, to share it, because both of you have a heart that you immediately said, if it can save a life, I'll share it. So I really appreciate that, and it's been a blessing to have you on the show. So let's say someone may be watching and currently in that situation. What would you leave with them today?
So what I would say is, one, you are loved. And even though it may appear as though you're not, trust me, you are. Do your best to seek out assistance within your community. There are always some type of entities there that will assist you. Do not hesitate to call 911. It doesn't matter. And if you need me, I will be there. My community, my organization, myself, my teammates, we are there for you. But put yourself first and know that what you're going through right now should not be happening. So again, seek out assistance. I guarantee you there's someone in your community, and if not, reach out to me and I will be there to assist you no matter where you are.
So I would like to end with, abuse is not love. It is not love. It is abuse. Please understand that. There is a difference. I know you have probably watched your mama, your auntie, your grandmother, your neighbors be beat up by their significant others. It is not normal. It is not okay. It is not how healthy relationships supposed to be. You can call Sister Care, which is the organization that helps victims of domestic violence, at 926-0505. They have a hotline that's open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can call them just to talk to them, for guidance. They have a legal department that can help. I understand that some of you may have husbands or wives that are abusers, that are policemen, attorneys, high-profile people that are threatening to take your kids, make your life a living hell. I understand that, but there are people out there that can help you navigate through this process. For those of you who are outside of Columbia, South Carolina, you can just call the National Domestic Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE.
And so I know, Tina, you have an organization and you
Yes.
have a gala
Yes.
every October. Tell us a little bit about that.
So she did that. Community Advocate Foundation is a 501c3. Yes. And this is our 6th year having the Purple Gala, which brings awareness to domestic violence, intimate partner violence. And so what we do is that we have speakers, no matter where they are, come in and talk about their experience with domestic violence. This year, we will have someone who has been an abuser in their past life. And so it's good to hear from that side. I believe that helps us to understand the triggers, that helps us to look forward to what we can do to possibly help another individual. We will also have 7 Sunday, a live band, dinner from Ponda River, and desserts from the dessert bar. So it is a time where people can safely share their stories. And we also have people such as Yakisha there who, if someone is in need at that moment, we have people there to assist them. So it is definitely something that we're looking forward to. It is this Saturday, and we are honored that we have several sponsors on board to help us get this message across.
Awesome. Well, this ends our show for today. Once again, I can't say enough. I appreciate you ladies taking the time to come speak with us today. And we look forward to having you back on soon.
Yes, thank you.
To our wonderful audience, thank you as always for stopping to share with us today. See you soon.